Just as all the other manufacturers of the world, Kawasaki is also sitting on that roller coaster which is always increasing and increasing the capacity and everything of the motorbikes. And this is a typical example for this, the new Z400. The history of the bike started with the Z250, then came the Z300, and then in the present we already have the 400 model, but this is maybe the most genius one from this lineup, so it's really worth to know it from closer. It's interesting that the overall outside sizes of the motorcycle, the length, the wheelbase and the whole sitting size didn't increase, but it became smaller. Kawasaki communicates that the Z400 equals more or less the Z250, so it became smaller, but the engine, the suspension, the brake system and everything increased. This is the reason why the whole package became much better than the previous ones. It's very important that the whole design is already totally in the Sugomi line of Kawasaki. It means that the inside energy and aura of the subjects, which is affecting on the human beings for us people, this is Sugomi, and to translate it to normal English, it means that the whole design is made on a sharp and aggressive and dynamic way. So the front light, the front part, this is of course full LED, the side panels, the fuel tank, the seat, the rear section, everything is designed in a way that the whole bike is really looking like a dynamic and aggressive super naked, although the number of cubic centimeters is only 400. Maybe the most important change, of course, as the number in the name of the motorbike is also showing, is the increasing of the cubic capacity, because it increased to 399 cubic centimeters. That's why it is called Z400. The engine is the same construction, inline 2-cylinder, and the power increased 6 brake horsepower, and what is much more important, that the maximum torque increased 11 Newton-meter related to the 300 version. And the numbers are not really showing this difference. It is much better feelable, because the whole bike is much less stressful to ride than the previous one, because if you wanted to ride even a little bit dynamic way with the old one, then you had to pull the throttle and use high RPMs all the time. So 8,000 to 10,000 RPM was a totally normal everyday RPM for the 300 version. This one is normally working, so for example in a city you can ride in 6 speed with 60 kilometers per hour, and from there I don't say that very dynamically, but the bike normally starts, so it's much less stressful to ride it in the everyday traffic. Another extremely important and really huge change is the suspension and the brake system, especially the suspension, because if you think back to the 250 version of this bike, then the front telescopic forks were just like my thinner finger. In the previous one, the 300 version, it was already 37 millimeter, the diameter of it, and here it is 41. Much thicker and much better the work of it. I tried the bike on good asphalt in curvy roads, I tried the bike in very bumpy asphalt and very bad asphalt, also in curves and in city and everything else, or everywhere else, and I really found it to be good everywhere. Even if it gets some holes on the asphalt in a curve, it doesn't disturb it at all. You can brake, not extremely hard of course, but you can brake with the front brake in a curve leaned bike very easily. It is not lifting up the bike at all, so it's really working, comfortable and well rideable. Absolutely, I was satisfied with it, and it's true for the rear section as well. The brake system also increased pretty much. because in the front the single disc increased to 310 millimeters, and we have a totally separated brake system, the front and the rear section, and of course we have ABS system everywhere. As I have already mentioned, the whole bike became smaller, so it's shorter, the wheelbase is also shorter, and the whole construction is much more compact, as the new frame is also giving a smaller place for it. And if somebody is high, the body is high of the rider, then the foot position is going to be much less comfortable. This is not good for tall riders. The upper body position is absolutely perfect. I didn't have any problem with this. If somebody is short, although the seat height is the same, 785 millimeters, but the seat itself is narrower, so extremely short riders, ladies and short guys, will have a much better foot contact when stopping than on the previous bike. So especially for short and small body riders, the new Z400 is going to be a perfect motorbike. Not only because of the small rear seat and the small place, but we can say that the whole Z400 is not for a two-person motorbike, so it's not a passenger-friendly thing. The rear seat is very small, very narrow, very hard, and simply there is no place to keep yourself, your body. The rider is not sitting in a laying position, so you cannot really keep yourself on the fuel tank. You have to sit relatively straight, and there is simply no place to keep yourself. Maybe the rear lamp, but you are going to break it for sure. In the front part of the rear seat there is a keeper, which is good only for the lows, because of the lows. Otherwise physically you cannot keep yourself, although the bike is only 45 brake horsepower, but if the rider is pulling mid amount of throttle, you are going to stretch this keeper for sure, and the rider is going to lose you. The dashboard directly came to the Z650 bigger brother of this version. We have an RPM counter which is full liquid crystal. Normally we have only one line, but when the RPM is increasing or decreasing, we always see the direction where it is moving. We always have a gear indicator, and we have a speedometer, we have a water temperature, fuel amount, and we have two info lines. One of them we have the trips and the overall distance, and in the other one we have the permanent and the average consumption and the range of the motorbike and time. These data are absolutely enough for this bike. All in all, we can say that this brand new Z400 Kawasaki is an extremely good little naked bike. Although the engine's cubic capacity and is bigger, the bike is faster, so more dynamic than the previous Z300 was. The suspension is also better, but because of the new frame, or partially because of the new frame, the whole bike is 3 kilograms less than the previous one was. It's true that the fuel tank is also a little bit smaller, now it's 14 liters, but with the low consumption it can, or you can take a pretty long ranges with it before refueling. So all in all, if you are not wanting the extreme powers from a motorbike, then you can have really good everyday riding and even long distance tours with this bike. If you liked our review, please push a thumb up. In the description under the video you can find a link where you can donate our work. If you do it, then we send all of our films to you directly before their publicity. If you haven't done it yet, please subscribe for our channel and watch our previous films as well. Thanks a lot for your attention.